Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how I created this All About Autumn card with the stamp from Technique Junkies. I hope you like this video. It's pretty easy to do, but very impactful. So off we go. All right, so we'll be doing a couple of different techniques to create this card, and we'll be doing the background with some Distress Oxides. We'll be using the All About Autumn stamp. We'll be using some embossing powder, and the embossing powder I'm using is from Simon Says Stamps. It's kind of a vanilla color, and here's another card that I had made for my, for my projects. But this one is pretty easy to do. Now the pumpkin die cuts are from my stash. And I'm going to start out with some Distress Oxide colors, peeled paint, old paper, antique linen, rusty hinge, wild honey, vintage photo. And what I'll be doing here is creating some stripes, but I'm not going to create uniform stripes. I'm just going to go with kind of organic looking stripes. I was inspired by a piece of pattern paper to create this kind of colorway, which is very fall-like to me. So all I'm going to do is just take my Distress Oxide on a blending foam and just add a stripe of color, any old place. And then I'm just going to put a little smaller stripe within there with just kind of the corner edge of my stamping foam. And I'm going to swap out my foams because I'm going to change colors. And I'm going to go back in with this wild honey and I'm going to hit the top. And again, no specific size, just pretty organic. Then I want to go in with my old paper. I'm going to create a stripe right here. A fairly wide stripe. And then I'll go in with my peeled paint. And I'll create like a little same kind of stripe within there. So you've got kind of an ombre situation. Then I'll go in with my antique linen and just kind of fill in, kind of blend the colors together so the antique linen blends nicely with all the colors that we've chosen. It's kind of a neutral sort of yellowish color. And then I want to create one more stripe down at the bottom. And I'll go in with the rusty hinge again. So I've got another dark stripe. If I can find my blending foam for it. There it is. And then just another thin stripe up here. A couple little organic looking stripes here and there. And we're basically done with our background. I do want to kind of do a little bit of blending again with the antique linen. Just to kind of, make all the colors cohesive. And I'll put away my inks, and I will be splashing this with a little bit of water because I want, a little bit more depth to my background. I'm going to hit this with my heat tool just to kind of set the ink because it's very, very, very wet. I put a lot of ink on there. And I just like to take my water sprayer and first clean up because you guys know me already. I'm messy. And I like to take my fan brush, rather than spray water directly onto my card, I like smaller drippy drops. And I've got a little bit of ink on there, and I don't mind really, but let's just start clean here, as clean as possible. And I just tap my fan brush on my finger and get little speckles everywhere. This just keeps me from getting big drips. I mean, there are situations when I want big drips, but this is not one of them. So I'll go ahead and hit that with my heat tool again, and I want to make sure that it's good and dry because my next step will be embossing, and I don't want any of that embossing powder sticking to my background other than where I ask it to stick. And particularly since we're doing a full background stamp. Now you could, if you wanted to, just use pattern paper for this. If you don't have the oxides and you have a lot of pattern paper, you could just use any kind of mellow pattern paper. You don't want anything too loud or busy because it'll clash with your stamp. And I'm just kind of straightening out my paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my stamp and grab all my tools. I like to turn on my heat tool, and I have this Simon Says Stamp embossing powder. And I can't see the color, sorry about that. It's like beige or something like that. I'm going to grab my stamping platform because I feel like it's important to have in this particular situation in case I have to stamp more than once. I can make sure that I'm stamping in the same spot. And I have a little kind of a sticky mat underneath there, but I am going to use a magnet as well because my sticky mat's losing some of its sticky. It happens. So I'm going to pull out my full background stamp and I'm going to lay it on here. And I already know that I'll be trimming some of this off, so I'm laying it more towards the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and use my anti-static powder tool to kind of just make sure. Now you can always test these, and I did test it off camera, so. But you can test it by pouring a little bit of embossing powder on and seeing if it sticks. So I just stamped that down with, or patted that down with Versamark ink. And then I'm going to use my little candy-filled pressure tool to make sure that everything's good and down. And so see, I do need to stamp it a second time, so that's where the stamp platform comes in handy. You could always just lay the paper down or lay the stamp face up and then lay your paper upside down on top of it and put pressure on it that way if you don't have a stamping tool. This is the best investment I've ever made, so yeah, if you're going to invest in anything, that'd be the one. So now you can see kind of the little words there in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and pour on my embossing powder and make sure everything's nice and covered. And so that's not a crisp white, it's kind of a more of a yellowy, so it's not too much in your face, but you can still see all the words. So I'm going to go ahead and take my heat tool. And at first I'm going to, just any excess that I got on there, I'm just going to kind of wipe off with a brush, but we're good. I was able to just gently thump that off. And then I'll go ahead and just heat emboss this whole entire panel. I like the way this stands out against the sort of organically striped background we created. I wonder, I love fall, it's my favorite time of year, but I will tell you right now, and I am team anti-pumpkin spice. If anything in fall, I'm all about warm apple cider. You can keep your pumpkin spice. Now, I'm not saying I hate pumpkin, I don't. I just don't need my whole life to be all about pumpkin spice. But I'm always happy when it's cooler outside. So I was just kind of shaking that to kind of cool it off a little, and then I'm going to trim it down with my decal trimmer. I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. And see, I'm trimming off that top there. And I don't mind if I'm cutting off some of my words, that's no problem. I did use watercolor paper for this. I tend to lean towards watercolor paper. So here I have my frayed burlap Distress Oxide, and I'm just edging it with the frayed burlap. It's not a super strong, bold color, but it does help kind of blend with the next step that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to use one of my embossing folders, and this looks like burlap, so it kind of goes with the theme. And I've got this piece of watercolor paper that I'm going to emboss and cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I'm going to color in the edges with the same frayed burlap, so it looks like burlap, right? And this simple coloring here. It helps if you have a juicy ink pad. And then I'm going to take my walnut stain and just kind of edge that to kind of get it a little bit dirty, grungy looking. Not too heavy, not too far in, nothing like that. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down to a craft card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Make sure it's on there nice and straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the little panel right on top of it. And for this, you want to be pretty generous with your glue because you have a bumpy surface for that to stick to, and you want to make sure it stays stuck down. So we have the premise of our card. You could pop a sentiment on there right now and be done with it. But we're going to go a little bit crazy here. So hang on, we're going for a ride. All right, so I have my 2 pumpkins that I've already created. And I got a funny story for you. And you'll see me do it. When I go to dump the excess moss off, I throw my pumpkins away, and I don't realize that I've done that. And so I have to peel my pumpkins off my demo card. So I just edged up the pumpkins there, and now I'm going to take and kind of decide on my placement, and I'm going to take a piece of double-sided sticky tape, and I'm trying to find the end there. This is a 1/4 inch size, and I'm just going to lay that flat down on my card, and then I'm going to use my little knife to pull up the backing, and I'm going to take my moss, and this is just moss from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to push it into that tape. So here we go. Watch me throw my pumpkins away and not realize I'd done that. I searched and searched for those. I just about lost my mind, and then I realized, I rewatched this video and I saw what I had done, and so I fished them out of the trash. So here I've just got a piece of, I don't know, jute string, and this is, again, something I got from the Dollar Tree, because I used to be a different kind of crafter. And I'm just kind of peeling it apart, breaking it apart, and just making sort of little, I don't know, stalks out of it. And I'm just going to glue the little stalks down. This just kind of adds a little extra special touch. So you just fray it up and lay it down where you think it should be. And let me find my pumpkins here. See, there's me looking for my pumpkins going, where did those pumpkins go? But I digress. I have this little vacuum, and this is how I'm going to clean up the moss off of my mat. I just wanted to show you that, because I know you're all thinking, oh my gosh, there's moss everywhere. So you see here where I peeled these pumpkins off of my other card. And this one looks like I have popped it up on some foam tape. And I'm adding glue to that foam tape, and I'm just going to stick it down right where I want it. And then this one I'm going to be sticking on top of it, so I'm only going to put foam tape on the one side, and oops, there's already foam tape on here, because again, I stole this off my other card. Now I don't even know where those pumpkins are, but I did fish them out of the trash. So there we go. That's a pretty simple card, and very festive. I hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos for me, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day.